Have you ever just had that feeling that you're living in a world you weren't quite built for? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into today. We're going to explore this growing conflict between our ancient prehistoric biology and the totally modern world we've built all around us, and what it's actually doing to our health.
I mean, it's a huge paradox, right? We have these miracle drugs, incredible medical tech, and yet chronic diseases are just exploding. So to really understand why, we have to look past the symptoms and ask a more fundamental question. Is there a massive mismatch between our bodies and the world we actually live in?
And this chart, wow, it tells a pretty stark story. The number of deaths from non-infectious diseases, things like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, it has absolutely skyrocketed. Now, these aren't illnesses you just catch. They're conditions that develop over a long time. And their rise, well, it's not an accident. It's a huge clue pointing to something much, much deeper.
So to solve this mystery, we first need to understand the blueprint that evolution gave us. We have to rewind the clock a bit, way back, to see how our fundamental biology, you can think of it as our body's operating system, was originally programmed.
You've got to remember, our core programming was written for a radically different environment than the one we're in today. The world of our ancestors, it was defined by immediate life or death challenges. I mean, every single day was about finding enough to eat and, just as importantly, avoiding being eaten. This constant pressure literally shaped every single part of who we are. And the fight or flight response? It's a perfect example of that ancient programming. It's like an automatic, built-in survival kit. When our ancestors came face-to-face with a predator, their heart rate, their breathing, their adrenaline, it would all spike instantly. This wasn't a choice. It was an essential, hardwired instinct that kept us alive.
But here's the thing about evolution. It's always a story of trade-offs. You can't be great at everything. As our ancestors started walking upright on two legs, seeing predators or prey from a distance became way more critical for survival than smelling them up close. So our biological resources were diverted to give us killer vision, while our sense of smell, well, it took a back seat.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. What happens when our ancient code, this prehistoric operating system, is forced to run in our completely modern world?
So this is the key. The conflict between our ancient biology and our modern environment is what scientists call an evolutionary mismatch. It means that the very traits that helped our ancestors survive for millennia can suddenly become liabilities, weaknesses, in a world they were never, ever designed for.
And this quote just says it all. We are running ancient software on modern hardware. It's the perfect analogy. Our biology, our instincts, our metabolism, that's the ancient software. It was written for a world of scarcity and physical danger. But the hardware of our lives has changed so dramatically, and that mismatch is basically causing a total system crash. And listen, this isn't just some vague idea. Scientists have a really clear three-part test for this. First, is a disease way more common today than it used to be? Second, can we pinpoint a specific change in our environment that's causing it? And third, can we explain the exact mechanism for how that change is making us sick? All right, let's look at the first big piece of evidence. This profound mismatch happening inside our physical bodies. I mean, just look at the unbelievable difference in our diets. Our bodies were built for a world where calories were hard to come by, and food was whole and natural. Today, we are just flooded with a constant, never-ending supply of processed, high-energy foods. Our metabolism, which was designed for famine, is now dealing with a perpetual feast, and it's just not equipped to handle it. And it's the exact same story with movement. Our bodies evolved to be in near constant motion, hunting, gathering, walking for miles and miles. Now, for so many of us, the default state is sitting. We've traded a life of perpetual motion for a life of perpetual stillness, and our bodies are paying a heavy price. And this right here, this is the proof in the pudding. When we compare populations that are still living lifestyles much closer to our ancestral past with those of us in post-industrial societies, the differences in key biomarkers like cholesterol are they're staggering. It's a crystal clear signal that our modern environment is pushing our biology way past its healthy limits. Okay, but this mismatch, it goes way beyond just our physical health. It's also having a profound effect on our minds and our social well-being. This question gets right to the heart of modern psychological stress. Think about it. That ancient fight or flight response, the one designed to save you from a lion, is now being triggered by work deadlines, traffic jams, and social media notifications. Your body is physically reacting as if your life is in mortal danger.
There's a fascinating idea for this called social safety theory. Basically, it says that our brains don't really distinguish between a physical threat and a social one. Things like public speaking, feeling rejected by our peers, or being isolated can set off the exact same deep-seated stress pathways that evolved to handle a physical attack. And the impact here, it is deadly serious. Chronic loneliness actually increases the risk of an early death by 29%. To put that in perspective, that's a risk factor comparable to smoking or obesity. We are biologically hardwired for connection, and our modern isolation is, quite literally, killing us. So, the final twist in this whole story is that the mismatch has now scaled up from our individual bodies and minds to the entire planet we call home. Through these incredibly rapid, culture-driven changes, we are fundamentally altering the planet's core systems. The pace of this change is something the Earth has never seen before, and it's creating an environment that is itself becoming mismatched to the very conditions that allowed us to flourish in the first place. In essence, we're engineering a global-scale mismatch. The concept of habitability is usually something we use to talk about other planets, but it's becoming disturbingly relevant right here at home. We are actively changing our own planet in ways that make it less suitable for our own biology to thrive. So, okay, here we are. We have this deep, fundamental conflict between our ancient code and our modern world. And simply understanding this mismatch, seeing it for what it is, that's the first and maybe the most crucial step toward finding any real solutions. And that leaves us with this one provocative final thought. For the first time in human history, we can actually read our own evolutionary instruction manual. We understand the conditions we were built for. So the question is no longer just why we get sick, but rather, can we use this incredible knowledge to consciously build a healthier, more human-compatible world? Can we bridge that gap? That right there is the challenge ahead of us.